Welcome to Breaking Barriers with R&D, your direct line to Randy Dowdy and David Hula, here to help fellow farmers unlock the potential in their fields. Are you looking to implement best practices that maximize ROI? You've come to the right place. Real value, real yield, real ROI. Breaking Barriers with R&D starts now.
Welcome to Breaking Barriers with R&D. Today is just D. I don't know if it's D for Hula or D for David, but today is which is D. But fortunate to have to my left, I got the world record holder of soybean, Alex Harrell, and to my right, I got Caleb Wolters from Wisconsin. And we've been doing some crop tours with Total Acre, and Alex, we kind of traveled. You and I've traveled to Mississippi, Georgia. Now we're in Illinois. And by the way, we're here at the John Deere Pavilion here in Moline. And thanks to BASF being their premier sponsor, we're getting a chance to just kind of move around and see where we're going. But I've been with Alex for the last week and a half now, and we've seen some crops, haven't we?
We have. We've seen stuff from real small all the way up, reproductive tasseled out corn. So been to all corners so far.
Yeah, and if anybody's having a drought, just invite Alex and myself around, because everywhere we've gone, it has rained. We were in the Delta in Mississippi and flooded there, rained during the day, ducks flying everywhere, landing in the parking yard. And then
probably more rain than they want.
Yeah, you think? And then when we were in your home state in Georgia, man, when we were done, I mean, it was lightning, and it's like, all right, we got to go.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah. Ended the meeting a little early.
Yeah. And then to my right, Caleb, from Wisconsin. And Caleb, I think you being part of Total Acre for a while, we had your brother on Total Acre on a podcast. And so not that you're second string or nothing, but, you came out to Illinois and, looking at some crops, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. I mean, you guys talk about bringing rain everywhere. It'd be nice if you guys could bring the markets up when you come too. But I guess we'll supply.
Yeah. Oh, I can tell you, my marking is don't do what David does. Just find out what he's gonna do, and
we ain't any better. So.
Yeah. Well, a couple years ago, everybody was dry. The Midwest was dry, and I think we were touring during the crop tour. Farmers ask me, say, what does it look like? I said, don't sell a thing, because things are dry. Get a couple rains. That soil y'all got up in Wisconsin, it don't take much water to make a big crop.
It's definitely different up here than it is down there. That's for sure.
Hangs around a lot longer when it does rain.
Yeah.
So I got Alex has got corn tasseling. What stage is yours?
We're anywhere from V2 to V4, so pretty small yet.
And then we were at lunch, and you said you were doing some replanting for corn for some neighbors.
Yeah, we had a neighbor that he had a little bit of a disaster out there. Corn got planted too shallow the first time. Thankfully, I wasn't the one who did it, but I got to replant it.
So is that something you want to do, is do more acres to replant? Because I think if you just show that it was wrong and you fix it, I think you got more work next year.
I guess. Yeah.
Job security.
That's right. Feel bad for that guy, but works out for me, it is.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you got the wrong hat on. Did you plant Pioneer the second time, or did you stick with that other one?
We did put Pioneer in, so just Pioneer don't make a hat that fits my head like this one.
You fixed several things in that given year.
He did. So are you, man, thinking about your crop? You just got it started. Are you excited about what you see?
Yeah, I think generally we planted about 350 acres April 29th and 30th, and then we got some rain on it, and that's been struggling to come up just because of the crusting that we've had. But everything after that, I mean, it went in the ground, came up with before any rain, and it looks good.
And I know you plant. I've had a chance to come to your place. I even chased a golf ball with somewhere up in Wisconsin with you and your brother, and
we did a lot of chasing.
Yeah. Well, we did a lot of finding golf balls in the woods. I know I did. But your brother, I think he won. He kind of had some of the best scores out there, and he was just kind of just kicking along and did all right. I lost my appetite for golfing after a while. I needed one beer.
That's right. That's right.
But outside of the corn, I know y'all do a lot of soybeans too.
Yeah, we've struggled with beans this year. First year we done 15-inch beans, and we usually got 3 years of corn between our beans, so we had a ton of residue out there, and just getting down through it into soil, and then it was cold and getting it to come up through all that. It's we ended up replanting some of them, and I think the rest will be okay. But hopefully, one of these days they'll start looking good.
Well, I think Alex has got a plan for cold soils and residue. What is it?
Just burn it all. I mean, before I started traveling a lot in the Midwest, I didn't know if residue was even a thing because we don't fight it. So, but if I told them I wouldn't fight it, I'd just burn it off and be done with it. Plan in the ash.
So y'all, your dad, you're out here goofing off.
Yeah.
Your dad's at home in Georgia.
Somebody's got to keep it going.
And spreading wheat now.
Harvesting wheat, and they're burning wheat fields off right now. So yeah, I've could fix the Midwest residue problem. So, may not help the erosion problem, but I could fix some residue.
But it also, you said it warmed things up.
Help heat up.
That's right. Beans come up real quick and then freeze off.
I just see a different set of eyes.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I don't know what the earthworms would think about that heat.
They'll go deeper.
They better do it quick.
Go out and plant some more like Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We were Eddie Huff and his brother wasn't there with us yesterday, but he was there. And since you mentioned it, what does he do?
Oh, he gets, I don't know how many, but wholesale earthworms, rides out there with side by side and handful here and there every 120 feet and planting more night crawlers.
Yeah, because I've been to his farm and actually stayed at his house, and his wife cooks an awesome breakfast. I know. It's like, oh my goodness, this was good. But we were out there. He talked about it and sent me some pictures of where one field had the earthworms, the other didn't, and just the amount of residue. Now, it's not like burning it down, but it's amazing what earthworms can do. And if have y'all ever seen earthworm eat?
They're talking about it.
Yeah. They just come up out of that hole. They want to build like a little hut over the hole, but they're grabbing that residue and just pull it down. And the bigger the one, the bigger the trash disappears. And they'll go deep. We're sitting in the John Deere pavilion, and their John Deere sprayer got stuck one day. And I was smart enough. I was the one driving it. It was over half full. We were top dressing some wheat, and I backed up. The machine just went down further, so I folded the booms up. So, you could be prepared. And we ended up tractor pulling it out. Had to use a 3-point hitch because we had to pull up. And my brother was in the tractor, and he said when I was coming out of that hole, it looked like I was a stallion. Just kind of come up. I couldn't see the cab, and we traded that sprayer and got rid of it pretty quick. But the cool thing that we noticed was the tires were the top of the tire was ground level. So we had a hole there, and there was a night crawler as big as my thumb down darn near the bottom of that hole. So they travel deep, and it was just muck sand. That's why we got stuck. You get in that, it's not quicksand, but what it's like. It just, you don't do anything to go down. But so, Alex, while we were in Mississippi and Georgia, the boom was tasseling. I thought it looked pretty decent. What were your thoughts for the viewers here? What's it like down south?
Yeah, Mid-South, the Delta in Mississippi, they obviously got some flooding issues. We saw a lot of standing water. Corn likes water, but it doesn't like that much water. But, if they could dry out, they still got a shot, chance at a crop. And then as far as, where I'm at, Georgia, I'll say it how my consultant, Caleb, thought. He's been walking the field a lot. And I said, all right, we're far enough. What do you see? And he said, as of right now, I'm cautiously optimistic. And so we've got a lot better start than we did last year. Heat really killed us last year. But right now, there's 2 years that stick out in my head that were, really good for us. Yield by, it was 2012 and 2023. And we're, as of today, we're right on par with those. So it could all change really quick, but right now we've got as good a growing season up to VT as we've had.
So you keep talking about corn. I know you got some soybeans.
I do. Yeah, I got a few. The soybeans, they, overall, they look good. They've had the same growing season. Obviously, we planted those first on full season, and then double crop beans are just starting to go in. But the full season beans, they not going to be any magazine beans this year. Somebody called them. We got a new planter this time. Had some glitches and demons to work on a bit. By the time we got it worked out, we were finishing up beans. So, but overall, solid bean crop. They're further along than the corn, so we got a pretty good idea of what we've got there. But I'd say overall, best growing season we've had in a while.
Sure. So we're in the John Deere Pavilion, so you're mentioning demons. I know it was green paint.
It was. So
There's a learning curve.
There's
things that,
Yeah, I shouldn't say glitches and demons. I should say I didn't know what we were doing. But we got it figured out, and we swapped that planter over to corn after soybean, and just did a phenomenon. I mean, it's unbelievable singulation and emergence, and really, really did a good job. It's got me excited to plant more beans next year.
Yeah.
Now that I know what we're doing.
Yeah, because we can't say that because we're trying to get John Deere to be a premier sponsor of our podcast too now. But no, with that, you got the brush delivery system. With
Yep,
the
we do. We have
and,
bowls.
And, when we were out, both of y'all can refer to this, when we were looking at soybeans, which we didn't see many beans in Georgia. I think we saw 0 beans in Georgia, actually.
Well, 0 beans in Georgia. Barely saw some in Mississippi, and saw, I think, 1 field here.
Yeah.
When you're around, nobody wants to look at beans.
That's right.
Just go to the cornfield.
But we got the world record guy with us in beans, so we got to talk about him. But as a whole, when we've seen it, and as you do across the country, whether through Total Acre or Pioneer or Brandon, whomever you speak with, what is usually the one thing that growers could probably pick up on?
There's no doubt it's singulation. I mean, we saw it today. We saw it yesterday. Pretty much every bean field we go to, you can go to mine and there's problems with it. But singulation is without a doubt the easiest one. I'm not going to say the easiest one to fix, but it's something that can always be fixed pretty quick. Most of the time it's just slow down. But there's no doubt the biggest, easiest ROI on soybeans is singulating them and spacing them out correct.
Well, I know I've heard Dowdy say this because, he's a big soybean guy as well. And, my beans are just for seed. We're just trying to get them in the ground, be good seed quality. But he talks about singulating. That's the biggest return on investment. But you did an exercise last year. And I think if anything ever brought a highlight to the value of it, I think that illustration. So
it did, and we're going to do it again this year. But last year we went out, flagged a row, pulled 30 plants up in that row. Now this was later being they were R5, and we had some bees. Pulled 10 plants, what I would consider perfectly singulated, 10 that were poorly singulated, and then 10 that were middle of the road. And took them to the shop, took pictures of them, pulled the pods off, separated them into 2 pod, 3 pod, 4 pod, whatever. But what we really wanted to see was how many more beans were on the perfectly singulated one versus the poorly singulated one. And I don't remember the exact number of beans per plant, but I do remember there were 64% more beans on the ones that were singulated versus the ones that were not. So, easy math. If you can make 100 bushel beans, well, you just made 164 bushel beans if you could plant them all in the space of night. So, and that's not taking into consideration seed size, because we're seeing a lot bigger beans on the singulated one. So when you throw that in there, I mean, really it goes even higher. But just beans per plant is enough to really, really make a difference if we can singulate.
So for the grower that's just got 100 bushel average, that's 160.
Just 100 bushel average.
Yeah, that's kind of.
But then for you that's got 200 bushel,
Wow.
and then we can do singulate, does that be 300 and some bushel? Yeah, no, she's worth talking.
Yeah,
We're stretching it there.
We can almost make money on that. Hey, you talk about market. Hey, I can't fix a market. We just got to produce more.
we gotta make more. Yeah.
So on beans for y'all, I know you just went to a different planter this year. And so what are y'all doing and what are y'all seeing?
Well, for a long time, we were 30-inch beans with our exact emerge, and I mean, that's second to none when it comes to singulating them. But we bought a 15-inch planter for planting some cover crops, and so we figured, well, let's do some 15-inch beans, right or wrong. Let's see you we went out there, and it's Kinsey brush meter, and it did all right as long as you drive slow enough. but it's still not what the deer is. So we'll see how it turns out, I guess. But we got some that we planted with the deer too, and so we could prepare.
Yep.
We talked about our beans. You got a special row pattern of beans this year too, don't you?
Well, everybody talks about to get high yield. The first thing we talk about singulation, and then the next thing is just planting earlier. And we've heard people through Total Acre, just across the country, beans are getting planted earlier, and sometimes guys are planting beans before they plant corn. And we spend all winter long getting our planter right. I mean, if there's one thing that I focus on so much, and that is the planter. So we get the planter right in the shop, rebuild it, double this overs, and we've talked about it multiple times on the podcast here, but it's squared away. And then my son decides he wants to plant beans first. So wood butter way, you got the Exactamers, you got the brush delivery system, and we get that singulation. And then after he's got all the kinks whipped out, then I get to plant. Well, unfortunately, we just got a bunch of rain, and those beans just didn't make it. And then we had these little things. Y'all deal with slugs? You're too hot to deal
Not
with.
much. If we go in there, no heavy cover crops, we get enough. Yeah.
So we got slugs, and we're focused on getting corn, and then all of a sudden, stands disappearing, and it's the damage is done. Well, I know where you're going, Caleb. We do a lot of strip tilling, and I was in Iowa last summer, and with Brent's with the Solar ETS folks, and with his cousin Dan, and went and walked some fields where they planted beans with the strip till machine, that Soul Warrior. And, my thing is, we just talked about simulation, and then we also spend time on trying to, for emergence. We're not going to get singulation with a controlled spill and a 30-inch, or, a 7.5-inch strip every 30 inches, but the beans look so good. I'm like, brother, you got to try this. And he was running the strip till machine at the Western Farm, and then it's like, all right, let's give it a try. And I'm planting corn, and he's like, I want to try planting some beans. And then he plants some beans, and they told us 10% are going to be on the top, 10% are going to be at the bottom of the trench, and then the rest of them are going to come up. So, we wanted 100,000 span, and, that's 20. So he ran 140,000, one unit. And after that, you got these beans with that pretty Rim Pro Plus seed treatment on it, that real nice green seed treatment. And you see them on top of the ground. And you're like, all right, we're talking about money, trying to save money, trying to make money. Well, being on top of the ground
Doesn't make much.
We talk about seed depth. Well, it's like, all right, this can't happen. And so we're trying to figure out how to push them in the ground. And we ran the Soul Warrior over top of it again. That didn't help us so much. Then because it pulled some of the other beans up top. Then we ran a roller out there. That didn't work. And then I took the corn planter and said, well, let's cut no fertilizer. Let's just run and get the closing system, see if that push them in the ground. A little bit, but not much. And then kind of left. And what Brent had said and his cousin, just don't look at them. Just walk away. It's kind of like when you spray a herbicide that you're going to burn the beans. Just leave. Well, we didn't leave, but he kept looking, and, he's like, all right, I got to go replant them. And then we got wet. And then, we've just been wet. And then later on, like, oh my goodness, we got a crop. So they're not evenly spaced.
Have you counted population on it?
Yep. It goes from 87, and then we had a 98 and 100 to 101,000.
So you got what you want.
We got a stand. And I don't know, kind of excited that, you did some unusual things with weed, but now we got a chance where maybe we wide drop something.
Yep.
And so it's just a learning thing. Just going to play. John Deere has a Soul Warrior type thing too. So,
How wide is the band of beans?
it's about 6.5, 7 inches. And I think I showed you a picture, and then all of a sudden there's a bean in the middle, or cold beans. And, he's a 40-foot machine. And, we talk about, you just said it, to singulate and you slow down. Well, he didn't slow down.
9 mile an hour.
He was 9 miles an hour. And, I hear brothers say, we cover some acres with this thing in a day's time. Oh, we got to have one of these 8RX 410s or something. I'd have to get a 9RX or something. Let's keep going.
Just go bigger.
Go bigger's better. Or go home.
Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah. But it's just interesting. I think as growers, and I know both of y'all always trying something different. I think you do a little testing too, don't you?
Oh yeah.
So what are you excited about looking at this year so far?
Well, I mean, with the we got 8 or 9 different trials, but I mean, we're really trying to figure out this residue thing on beans. So we got a few residue digesters that we sprayed a 3 weeks ago, and then we'll see. We sprayed them in our corn. That's gonna be beans next year, so we'll see, is that gonna chew up any of this residue, and then hopefully it'll still be there to eat some of the residue when we combine that corn. So we'll see if that works. And then we're soil testing and tissue testing in them spots too to see what happens. So that's one of them, I guess.
Yeah, one of the 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Now, I think, for people that don't realize, some of the trials, you get paid to do it too.
Yeah.
So not only are you getting to look at products before they're really commercially available or they're commercially available, you get product free, you get money for testing that. It doesn't come cheap. I mean, you got to do some work.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what is a normal week like in Wisconsin when the crop's growing and you're looking at trials?
When the crop's growing, I mean, we try to, obviously do whatever we need to according to the protocol. But I mean, Mondays we'll get out there and look, and we used to do a lot of tissue testing every single week. We kind of pulled back on that a little bit. We just try to go, when the conditions are right for taking a tissue test. But then there's certain growth stages we try to hit, and so between that and then, we'll, if we need to spray, we'll spray it. We got a lot of corn to haul too, so cheap corn, but we still got to get out.
That's right. Oh, now I know not all products you use work, so we're not going to say those that don't work, because we again want them to sponsor the podcast. So we might want to do something in Total Acre, but the cool thing is you're now figuring out what works for you. Now, the other thing, some things that work for Alex or myself might not work for you because it's not what's been holding you back.
Right.
And coming up and walking in some of your fields, I mean, sometimes irrigation does pay.
Oh, yeah.
It would pay.
It would.
Yeah. And then start seeing, I mean, I know when you're looking at your crop, you're not just looking above ground. What else do you like to do?
I know we're digging holes. We want to see what them roots are doing under there. And, I'd say one of the biggest things that's paid for us is, there's tons of products you can try, but it seems like if we can focus on the biology we got out there and try and make it better and make it healthier, get more oxygen in the ground, I mean, that's really been helping us, just make more nutrients available.
It's not always
Better put down pound. That's right. Making them available. That's right.
I'm waiting to hear when you start planting earthworms out. Yeah. Have you even looked into that?
I looked at the website last night. I think we're going to have to order a box to see how it goes.
Some of these in a box.
They've got all different sizes, but 20,000. So we're going to try.
Yeah, so not only, I'm hoping we talked to you at least trying to burn an acre or two.
We're going to try it.
a field or two.
I called my brother on the way over here. He's like, "Are you sure about that?" Like, we're going to try it.
We'll send you videos later this week of wheat fields. So,
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah, burning something out. I like I told y'all in the meeting today, I got a good friend, my college roommate. His dad owns some farm ground in North Carolina, and it's got that high peat soil.
Oh yeah.
The farmer said, "Hey, I want to burn some of the wheat straw," and the landowner said, "Don't catch my farm on fire." Unfortunately, he did. That peat caught on fire, and you'd be seeing, you get everything above ground off, but then all of a sudden, some of that peat, you'll see smoke coming up over here, smoke there, and it wasn't until they had a big hurricane and all those cuts flooded up with water that fire finally went out. And I mean, you hear about the digital swamp, and those swamps catching on fire, and that's real. So, Alex, I know your dad's cutting wheat, and you're out here, and you're getting ready to head home.
Yep.
I mean, we're going to hop on the plane in about 4 hours and get on home. So, what do you got going on that you're going to be focusing on?
Oh, for us, from here to harvest is irrigation. I mean, that's a big thing for us, is just trying to keep crop wet. That could mean having a 0 bushel yield or a really good yield if we But we've been, like I said, luckily we've been catching some rains. We've had some cooler weather than what we normally do. But we got rain chances into the week. But I was telling one of the guys earlier, and they were like, when it's raining, when you cut your pivot off, and I do not cut them off until it rains as much as I'm a fly. Because I have been bit multiple times. They're calling for an inch of rain. Let's shut them all down. Doesn't rain drop. Then you got to go start them all back up. So, like I said, we got a lot of rain last week, about 3 inches. But we starting pivots back today, and then tomorrow I do most of the irrigating myself. When I get back tomorrow, we'll fire them all back up, and they'll run until it rains. So we're going to be irrigating, and we'll be spraying. We got the ground rig touching some stuff up, and then the drone it's running, foliar and fungicide and stink bug spray every day right now. It's really, that kicked off about a week ago. I'm not going to say we're wide open with the drone yet, but we're within days of him not getting a break.
Well, I think let's just take a little break right now because I see some other equipment I want to look at. But in a few more minutes, we'll come back because I want to talk to you about drones now.
All right.
And then, so stay tuned for Breaking Barriers with R&D, and Dowdy is not here.
Veltima fungicide outyields the competition by an average of 7 bushels per acre. But you've never been average. The only competition that really matters is you versus you. And with the performance of Veltima fungicide from BASF, you can take your best results even further. Beat your own record. Get every bushel you deserve. And make this your best season yet with Veltima fungicide from BASF. Always read and follow label directions.
Are you carefully managing fertilizer applications and budget, but still not achieving your yield goals? Micro 500 from AgroLiquid effectively addresses yield-limiting micronutrient deficiencies without the expense of additional applications, nutrient waste, or an unbearable mess. Micro 500's balanced combination of micronutrients is safe to apply and its compatibility is unmatched. Achieve your yield goals with Micro 500 from AgroLiquid. Find out more at agroliquid.com.
Welcome back to Breaking Barriers with R&D. Well, you got the D side, whether again it's David or not Dowdy. Dowdy happens to be in Delaware and Maryland doing a crop tour with the Total Acre Bit. Earlier, we were kind of talking, and Alex, you got to talking about drones.
Yep.
And I know there's a lot of viewers here, but there's a lot of interest in drones. And I know you've been doing it. I even think you're a dealer.
We are. We've been a dealer and been using them on our farm for 3-4 years now. I know we were probably the first one in the southeast to start using them. So we saw all the glitches, saw all the startup problems and grower pains and all. But we got a lot of acres under our belt and a lot of experience with them, and they've been a really good tool for us. We have, we were paying the airplane a lot, probably not as much as you, but we were paying them a lot. Well, those bills have disappeared. We may call one in if we get far behind, but we do it all ourselves now. We can mix it all ourselves, use our water, put whatever we want in there, and we don't have to worry if it's mixed right, and then do it on our schedule. If we want to go out there right at daylight, or if we want to go to middle of the day or at night or whenever, we can do it ourselves. But we do, there's pros and cons just like everything. The biggest thing I hear is people say, well, an airplane can spray 10 times as much that a day. And my argument is like, well, it should. It's $1 million where this is $30,000, and it's battery powered. And so it's not going to replace an airplane. It's not going to replace a $700,000 sprayer. But what it does do is allow you to do it yourself, do it on your own schedule. And most of the airplane and stuff, they're spraying for 25 people. So you're just spraying your own stuff unless you're a custom applicator. And then so you'll have to cover those areas. But for us, it's been really good. Again, we've wrecked several. We've found a lot of glitches. We've actually helped them fix some things that we saw problems with. We've tried multiple brands, multiple models. And like I said, overall, it's been really good for us.
Yeah, well, I'm not a drone guy, so I know that I had patience. Yeah. I'd run it into the trees, it'd run into a power line, it'd be tumbling. And
You've done that.
You've done that. It comes with experience. We do, Matt Crabb does the aerial application. We used to helicopters, and unfortunately, there's good pilots and then there's dead pilots. And unfortunately, Gene Critter had a mishap and passed away. So give kudos to him, because I would let my grandkids fly with him. That's how comfortable I was about it. Just something freak happened. But I tell my crop duster I want the first load today.
Yeah.
And
That's one of the days.
there comes a cost associated with it. That's why you jokingly said, hey, Randy, you don't pay as much per acre as I might, but we don't have as many crop dusters as y'all do down south. And, when we were in Mississippi, I think you said you were down there one time. And
I'll never forget that. Yeah, it was August. They were desiccating soybeans. One, I didn't know you could desiccate soybeans on an airplane. They won't even considered in Georgia with all the fine trees. But I remember standing in a man's soybean field, and I turned a full circle looking around, and I saw 8 drop ducted spray. And I mean, they were just everywhere. They told me there was 12 or 14 in that one counter.
really,
You go the next one, same way. I mean, it was crazy how many planes.
fortunately, they don't need air traffic control. They got
I
them
don't
for
know how
traffic.
they still get one another. But
Yeah, well, at least they're not out in the Midwest worried about those turbines.
Yeah.
They got big open fields, as we well know. So again, I don't have a drain. I think somebody just bought one or has one in a box, or I'm not sure what. But
We're gonna do something with one this year, so we'll see. Hopefully, it stays in the air. We got a few acres to do for ourselves, and then we lined up a little bit of custom as well. So hopefully, it works out. I'm a little nervous about it, but I think we'll figure something
We'll
out.
figure it out.
I wrecked them a few times. That's right.
well, it's a whole lot cheaper to wreck one of those than it is one of them $750. I mean,
I really wrecked a drone than an airplane.
yeah, you walk away from it.
That's
right.
It just hurts your feelings.
Yeah. So, what was the motivation to get you to do it? I mean, do you have any operators?
Well, I mean, we do, but getting them to do exactly what you want when you want, you want to spray more gallons per acre or something, and they fight you tooth and nail on that.
As I said, they get paid by the acre.
That's right. That's right. So, just kind of having that flexibility. I mean, we had a ground rig for a while, but yes, $700,000 machine. So, figured we'd get by a little cheaper with this, and I don't know, track up the field us too. So.
I know when you and Dirk and Mitch came to the farm years ago, you were going from the whole farm to the western farm, and we were driving down Route 5, and I had totally forgot Matt Crab was flying for us, and all of a sudden I think we were going down and that plane munched us.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. We climbed in the bed of your pickup and watched him fly over us. Yeah, about blew my hat off.
He gets on top of the corn.
Oh,
doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a good job.
He is on.
You just need to find out what he had in the mix.
That's right. That's top secret. Yeah. He signed an NDA.
Yeah, and it's not clear coming out, is it? God, it's
He hue to it.
yeah, that's exactly right. Oh man, got a glitter, and it hadn't figured out. I hadn't figured out how to make 200 bushel beans, but we figured out how to make a corn crop grow.
Yeah. So I'd say you figured that part out.
But so the drain, you got fungicides, insecticides. I mean, what's your
Fungicides, insecticides, some foliar stuff. Do some trials and stuff with it, see what different things work. So, and then we might do a little bit of herbicides with it. We'll see what we get away with on label and all that. So, but mostly fungicides.
Well, every time I go to like Commodity Classic or we go to a grower clinic and there's a drone guy and I talk to Alex, it's like, man, I need a drone. And then I think about it, it's like, a little bit of money, but then it's just a commitment of time. Because, you take your guys, you've been doing it for a long time, and yeah, I got to be home to fly it. Somebody's got to fly it. It doesn't
You really need something else to do.
That's right.
Something else to teach me to stay home. I think it would be mutiny if I don't hurry up and get home. But what average day, what can a guy do?
Oh, it wildly depends on field size, and gallons per acre is a big one. But, we can consistently do in that 250 to 3. We've done over 300 acres in a day, but we can consistently hit 250. No problem.
And clearly they've gotten bigger.
They have. Yeah, when we first started out, man, it had 6 arms. It had a 30-liter tank, and it had spray tips that stopped up every pass. And Now we've got bigger atomizers. You know, we're up to a 50-liter tank, a lot faster. Got a lot bigger pump. The problem with the early ones was if you wanted to put more gallons, the pump wasn't big enough, so you had to slow down. And I learned a hard lesson. When you slow a drone down, because I wanted to go to higher gallons per acre, well, you also have to narrow your swath up because you don't have the blades pushing down as far. I learned that the hard way. But nobody told me that. Oh, yeah, we streaked it up. And we were putting out foliar fertility on wheat, and we burnt what was under it because we put too much and nothing on it. So, yeah, it was a bad lesson. We learned it, we know it, but now the newer ones, they got a big enough pump. We can go for 2 gallons, 3 gallons, 4 gallons, whatever we want, never slow down, never change swath with it. So it dummy-proofs it a lot.
Sure.
Flies faster, bigger pump, get a lot more draft pushing down there. We can open that canopy up and really get it down in there.
Sure. When you talk about volume, what's your best success? Different types, there are different volumes.
We usually run in that 3 gallon per acre range, and it's not because it does better than 2. It's because we usually have pretty heavy mixes. So 2 gallons, we got to have a little bit of water. So we, if we're just spraying 1 or 2 things, I'll run 2 gallons all day long and not think about it. But normally we need some more carrier there just to mix that stuff into it. I hardly ever go above 3 gallons. So we desiccate soybeans. Used to go higher and it'd work, but what we started doing on soybeans, if we have time, and I'll still do a one-shot deal, but if we have time, I'll go in and I'll spray them, burn the tops out, and go back 48 hours later and spray it again, and it really gets down in there. I'm not putting more. I'm just cutting the rate in half and doing it twice.
Okay.
And I would do that with ground rig, airplane, whatever it is. But again, I don't want to pay the airplane to do it twice, so we just do it if we have time. Won't hesitate to do it twice. So.
Well, when we were in Mississippi, they were talking about, or maybe it was in Georgia, talking about, she's spreading fertilizer. Yeah. The guy called it a streak. Yeah. And I guess if you're not doing a good job defoliating beans, it's going to streak it up, and you'll know how good applicator you got.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was talking about a dry spreader, but the same thing with airplane. But, I'm in heavy cotton country, and you want to see how good an airplane does, let them do the defoliate cotton. You cannot hide from it.
So, drones oftentimes used for imagery. They're using now for putting out applications. I think you just learned something else to do with the drone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if we need to talk about that, but we did take our drone. We took the tank off of it. We were harvesting wheat, like you were saying, and we got a 120-foot elevator at the grain bins, and the gearbox went out. And called my grain bin guy. He said, got one on. We climbed up there, got a picture of the serial number, ratio, and all. Sent it to him. He said, I'll have one Friday, and I'll have the crane there to put it up in there. I said, all right. Well, I started thinking about it. I said, I got a better way to get it, or I got a cheaper way to get it up. Well, it's better. So we strapped our gearbox and 105, 6 pounds, I think it was, and we flew it to the top of the elevator. And luckily, we flew the new one up and brought the old one down. No problems. No problems at all. So I don't know how much that crane would have cost, but it didn't take 3 minutes to do it with that drone. So.
Better if, I'm thinking, 120 foot up in there, and I forgot that one tool. And get that tool up.
Well, our grain bin guy may be a new customer. He was very interested how to do with that.
I bet. Yeah, because y'all bought an elevator too.
Yeah, 120 foot too.
Yeah. Yeah, the gearbox goes out.
Yeah.
Just call me.
Yeah, we had to replace that same gearbox last year. We had another crane on that wasn't cheap.
Yeah. And it takes her longer to put his landing gear out than it does to do the job. They just folded up and punched out.
We did a couple of test flights before we went live with it.
It worked good.
Oh man, that's awesome. It's just like a tool. If you got something to use, we're gonna be using the Soil Warrior to plant beans, and they'll pay for it.
That's right.
Yep. So and then you get that drone. So now, for you doing drones, is there a lot of neighbors that are they just sitting back and watching? Is it going to be a whole crop year, or they're just, I'd rather call Caleb than I would the crop duster?
Well, we'll see. I haven't really advertised as much yet, so there's a few drones in our area, so I won't be the first one doing it. But if things go well this year, we may push it a little harder. you know, it's always good to have another revenue stream. So.
Sure. Awesome. Well, now, you did say you were outside of crop production, y'all are hauling corn. You're not out of corn yet? You still shipping more?
We should have sold it when in February.
That's right.
Yeah, something like that. Thanks, got put in here.
That's right.
Give them their part.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I guess they're probably on very big lines now.
There's a lot of corn being hauled in March, February time frame, and yeah, we ain't very often you see the high of the year in February, so we figured for sure we'll get better pricing June, July, or May. Even so,
How'd that work out?
not good, not good at all.
And the basis isn't even helping none new, is it, early?
It's got a little better, but we priced them just this morning, just on basis contracts. So we'll see. Hopefully that wasn't a mistake.
See, I travel sometimes. I get away and I forget about the pricing and stuff. But and you know, y'all just put up a new grain handling facility last year or year before.
It was in 2020.
Okay,
I've been
5 years. Good
Your
job.
box is already out on it.
Yeah, it was leaking from the get go.
Well, you got to realize how many bushels.
Yeah, I guess
Like, good God, they are running stuff. And I know different dryer.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of that? Because what did you have before and what do you got now?
So we had an old MC, just a screen dryer, and that was Dad put that up before I was even born. So we traded into a Unico mixed flow with triangles on the side, bird house or whatever dryer, and that, I mean, it's awesome. Any capacity on that thing, and you can kind of keep your temperatures lower when you're drying, so you get a little.
Because it takes that grain and it's just constantly turning you.
That's right. Yeah. So
Does it make a big mess? I heard they're melting.
Oh, it's a bad mess. So you don't want it close to the house.
So Miss Sandy Airplane.
Heat skin your hay.
But that's not the only reason, I'm sure.
That's right.
Cost-wise compared to a regular dryer?
Not much different.
It's not.
No.
Okay, I always heard they were higher, but I've never priced from them, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, you can. All depends on which millwright you go to. That's right. Different prices. So, yep.
And y'all switched it from propane to natural gas?
Yeah, we just did that last year. So that we got a big dairy just 3 miles south of us. And they put it in a big methane digester deal as made natural gas. And so they brought that line our way, and then the natural gas line in town, they kind of met in the middle. So they can go both ways now. So if the dairy needs it, they can pull from the town's line, or they can send theirs to town. So
You're right in the middle, just pulling from both.
that's right. As long as they don't cut it off, we should be off.
What, did any difference between the two?
No, I mean,
Cheaper.
cheaper. Yeah, that's the big, as far as efficiency.
Okay.
I mean, it's nice to not have to worry about filling tanks.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Unlimited supply.
I don't need that propane guy there the whole time, do you? Oh,
He wasn't had to, though.
He was. Okay. Oh, I'm sure not. And now, how do you handle your crop?
Yeah, we put in a new dryer actually last year was the first year we ran it. We just went with a bigger one. Didn't get the mixed flow dryer. And put in another bin. But yeah, we just standard, just got a wet tank, regular dryer. Picked up, like I said, went with a lot bigger one. We went with, I think we were at like 800 bushels an hour. At 5 one, we went to 2,700 bushels an hour now. So keep the time moving.
So now, since we're here, you're going to be getting an X9 or?
No, I got the dryer to do it. Now I got another bottle, I've learned in the grain dry or the grain world, you'll always have a bottleneck, whether it be combine, trucks. Now it's wet tank, or it was the dryer. Well, we fixed the dryer. Now my wet tank's not big enough. I put another wet tank in. Then I got to get a different elevator. If I do all that, then I need more trucks and a combine. So
That's right.
I'm just gonna go with what we got for now.
That's probably one more, and going faster. Now, one thing that I do know, it's kind of cool how you do it. Your grain storage facility is different.
Yep. What we do, I've got 2 bins there. Started with just one. Got another one there just in case something happens to one. And we are constantly loading and unloading. And I've got a bagger. Used to use 300-foot bags. Now we use 500-foot bags. We could put 14,000 bushels. Now we can put 24 to 25,000 bushels in a bag. And I've got a 1,000 bushel grain cart. And we bag it all there at the grain facility. Got a dry land corner right across the dirt roads where we bag it all up. And so I got a 1,000 bushel grain cart, and all day long he just unloads out the bin, takes across the road, and dumps into the bogs. And it's basically unlimited storage. I mean, those bags I bought them or ordered them the other day, they cost me 6.7 cents a bushel. Then look, I don't know how much the labor is. Never really put a pence for that, but I figure for 10 cents, I can put it in a bag, and I wouldn't want to keep it in there 2 years, but we're selling corn within 6 months usually out of the bag within 3 to 4 months, and it works great. And I don't have to treat thorn, insecticide, none of that. I've never had to weld on a bag. I've never had to call an electrician to a bag, and there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah. But just think about all the hogs you got. They got unlimited food there. They just punch a hole in that.
That was the first year we bought it. We did not bag it at the grains bin, so we did it in the field. That's the way most people do it. And I said, well, we had this big farm, which we don't work anymore. And I said, well, there's a hay field, about a 5-acre hay field. I said, we're gonna fence it in, keep them out of it. So I did that. We put it in there, fenced it in, didn't have any issues. Well, the next year we were at another farm. Grain bin broke. Now something happened. I said, go get it back. We're going to bag right here. We didn't have any issues with it. So now, in last year's the first time that I know for a fact we had hogs, wild hogs at the bag. They ate all the spilled corn, cleaned up around for us, and did not touch the bags.
Oh, really?
Only they do that, they can come back. Because they picked up. There weren't anything for the rats or anything to eat, but never tore one. Now I say that, and they'll rip all of them up this year, but that has always been a scare of mine. Is that never had trouble with it. One thing that does scare me is it seems like these weather storms are getting worse, and I just keep thinking if a huge hailstorm comes in, I don't think it'll penetrate that, but I don't know. I'm almost certain it won't. I'm sure it's happened, but yeah, it works good for us. Some people wouldn't want to do it, but it's cheaper in the end.
Sure.
Grain bins aren't cheap, and in the maintenance and your treatment and everything like that more than pays for the bag. So, and again, we grow a lot more than I have stored for, so we just all day long. That guy, he's got a pretty boring job. He just goes over there, hits the buttons, he can drives over there and dumps it in the bagger.
Yep. Well, it's working for you. It's working for him. He's got a job.
Yeah, so he's got a job for 6 weeks there.
Awesome. Well, man, y'all don't know how much I appreciate y'all being part of the Breaking Barriers with R&D. This has been fun. We're at the John Deere Pavilion, and again, thanks to BASF for being a premier sponsor. But fellas, I want to get up. I need to look at that new combine. There's that new 8RX tractor, and I think there's even a planter outside. So thanks to John Deere letting us use their pavilion today, and stay tuned. And Dowdy, while you're in Delaware, we missed you. Be safe.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon for another new episode of Breaking Barriers with R&D. Be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, all episodes are available on Farm Journal TV and anywhere podcasts are found.